interest of time, we're going to do a lightning round to make sure these final 3 questions get asked. So please ask your question. We'll turn the microphone over, and we'll get these last 3 questions in, and we can just answer them from there, too.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Michael Marr with Breaking Defense. My question is about support for local law enforcement, particularly for the equipment, beyond training and those types of things. Is there like material transfers through like a 1033 program, considering some local law enforcement agencies might not have the resources of like NYPD, for example?
Thank you, everyone, for your time today and insights. Lucas Raskin with Guard RF. I know a lot of people on this panel have a wish list in terms of authorities they'd like to see expanded in order to deal with unauthorized UAS. My question is, as many in the FAA see their mandate as aviation safety surrounding the threats that UAS pose to airports and are resource constrained from enforcing remote ID or attribution of intent. I know Mr. Torfey described remote ID being used at a handheld temporary monitoring capacity at these Sierra 1 events. I'd like to know, as Part 108 expands and we're on the eve of maybe Amazon flying tens of thousands of systems around, are there any outcomes that you'd like to see at the federal or SLTT level in terms of management of commercial UAS activity or potential pattern of life establishments surrounding this activity to support law enforcement and homeland defense? Thank you.
Mike Marino, a veteran small business owner. First off, I'd like to challenge all of us to consider whether or not automation is the 7th warfighting function. Second, thank you so much to everyone who's talking about requirements and getting industry and the customer together to talk about those requirements, including small businesses like ours. But my question is, for small businesses like mine, me and my innovators can develop very rapidly and very innovative technology, but funding is a critical issue. There is a very constrained, small amount of funding available to us. Programs like X-Tech and SBIR, which has lapsed, are very helpful to us, but expecting small businesses like mine to develop counter-UAS solutions on IRAD, internal research and development, is very difficult. So I'd like to challenge the panel to consider funding mechanisms for companies, innovators like mine, veteran innovators like mine, to develop the solutions that you all need. Thank you so much.
I'll take the first 2 questions. So for the question was, how do the state and local law enforcement get the equipment? And there will be a FEMA grant program. I envision 2 tranches. One will be a detection, radar camera, acoustic, sensor systems, services, trailers, et cetera. We're working with the White House on that to coordinate that. So there'll be a pot of money available to state, local, tribal, territorial law enforcement to procure that level of equipment. And then for the folks who come through our school and get certified, contingent on expansion from Congress, there'll be a 2nd tranche for advanced detection or decode, decrypt, and mitigation technologies that they can buy off of. So very exciting there. Part 108, expansion of beyond visual line of sight, commercial UAS operations, huge topic, don't have time to get into it, but we are working, of course, through our interagency partners to make sure that there's the appropriate security framework in place as that rolls out.
Could I add just 2 things on that? First of all, for Part 108 and the beyond visual line of sight legislation that's coming through the pipe right now to do just that, to allow broad delivery of goods and services through unmanned systems. I'm not afraid of that. I embrace that. I think that's great. We struggle with unmanned systems right now because we don't know what responsible behavior is. We can put up a restricted flight area, and we know if somebody flies in that, then they're breaking the rules. We don't really know what we're going to be able to do against them over time, which is a challenge. But what this does is it provides well-known rules and established norms. And so when somebody violates those norms, it becomes easier for us to identify something that's a threat. And so I'm excited about that development over time, and I look forward to partnering with the interagency as we do that. Second, for the small business, we're running TechX today. Secretary of the Army talked yesterday about, hey, how do we leverage small businesses? I've had conversations with other folks within the department about the Office of Strategic Capital. I want to make sure that we are offering opportunities for you to continue to innovate. And then not only that with innovation for new technology, but also in areas where we need to expand our organic industrial base just so we can have secure and resilient supply chains.
Yeah, I think on the funding piece, I think you also consider the focus of the question was on government funding. I think there's other funding sources out there that are non-government, right? Partnerships, leader-follower partnerships with industry partners. I think there's lots of ways to solve that problem besides just the government methods. Some of them work just great. Some of them more challenging than others. But that aperture, I think, is a little bit wider than just government funding.
Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate the conversation, to our distinguished panel and AUSA for hosting. I think what we've all heard here today is that